Sherry and Nancy, so good to hear from you. Thank you for taking the time to reach out to me. I really appreciate it. And I understand what you're saying, that EdPlan cannot tell the difference when a goal is written in new. The baseline data on the progress monitoring becomes the first data point taken after the subsequent IEP is finalized. The issue with that is it skews the results, and also EdPlan, unless you manually input it, doesn't necessarily through progress reports. If you still use progress reports, then it doesn't do quite what I think, and I'm not able to convey that. And we get that you're supposed to go over, and we do go over the progress reports and the progress graph at the end of each subsequent IEP. But what I'm talking about is from the very beginning, fields aren't talking to each other to set up a clear, cohesive, step-by-step process for the IEP. So this is data test. You have access to this, and so I'm going to show you what I mean. IEP process. Goals and objectives. So I've gone in here and created a dummy student, essentially. And so, as you know, every IEP that is written should have a baseline, and you're supposed to then use the evaluation procedure to monitor the progress through progress monitoring or progress reports to the end goal, and the end goal should clearly be stated. Many times you see districts write, given direct instruction services and special education setting to analyze character plot, the student must obtain 70% mastery. Well, what was the student's mastery to begin with? What does this even measure? And that is a fundamental issue with how goals are written by a majority of people. So if you look at the PMP and you look at any goal, it should clearly show a baseline. It should show the measure you used to get the baseline, and then how you're going to monitor that goal with the end result. So here you can see our baseline is 174, and our end result is we want to get to a 183 at the end of this IEP. And we're going to progress monitor that through NWEA, reading and comprehending critical thinking, and a target score of a 183. I want you to focus in on that target score. So once you save that, okay, and this IEP has been finalized, you go in and you go to goals objectives. You go at the bottom is log progress monitor change for existing IEP. Again, this doesn't matter if this is an initial or a subsequent. Here is the fundamental problem, and it might be okay for a subsequent, but if you go into tools, and let's just say it is time for let's say this IEP happened in January, right? So you might write the baseline for the student's NWEA score that was in December. So you should be writing your goals for the student's most recent assessment for that area. And that is your baseline, not after the fact. And so here is the problem. So if you go into Wizards, and you go into IEP Progress Monitoring Wizard, it has this, but here's the problem. There's no progress graph because no one has logged a score. The baseline, that baseline box that we talked about, there should be a numerical value, and it should be the exact same as the evaluation procedure or something similar that logs a score that when you click on that, that's the start score of this IEP. That is the baseline score for this IEP, regardless of subsequent or not. It could very well be that if a student carries over, the graph is infinitely long. I'm not sure about that. But you have to manually go in there and log scores. And let's just say that here's another issue with that. If you do not put a baseline in, let's just say that you can see here the target score is a 183. So EdPlan talks to the evaluation procedure below, but the baseline that we said 174 is nowhere to be mentioned. So if we put in our first progress monitoring note, we can say 0, 3, 10, without putting in a baseline, 20, 23, and let's just say they just now scored a 177, right? Comments. Spring, submit, and it's going to then, so it's now saying the baseline, the start of this IEP is that 177, and we both know that's not true because it was that 174 that we had talked about. That's the problem. So the baseline should have been what the goal's initial score was. And so if you log the score, of course you can go back and do this, 12, 10, 20, 23. Let's just say that's when it is, 174. Submit, because that's done in January based off a December score. Nope, sorry. Let's say that's the baseline then. Of course it goes back, but this is a true picture because, you know, the IEP started here. That's where the students, or if you want to put the date of the IEP, that's fine. You know, let's just say this IEP is 1/12/2022. I don't know if it'll do it. Maybe we'll do it. Let's see. You know, regardless, I'm trying to get this to work. I don't know why it's not working now. Oh, because I went back too far. It should have been 1/12/2023. But you get the, let me try it here. Let's say the IEP is 1/12/01/12/2022. And let's just, and this is percentage. This is, again, it talks to the percentage. This is another goal. Let's just say it was 20% baseline. And then it's time for progress reports, 3/10/2023. Let's just say he's at 27% progress report 3, or whatever, or spring 2023. You click submit, and you can see is the student adequately progressing or not based on the trend line on grammar and punctuation. But the point is, EdPlans marks the first thing is what you manually put in there. It has the target score. It has the target score from the evaluation procedures. It doesn't take any of the baseline. You have to put that in there manually. And so really, the baseline should be the evaluation procedure, or the evaluation procedure should say, this is your first score, and this is the end score that you want to get to, and then every subsequent score goes in there. If you do it that way, it talks to each other, and you can log progress monitoring immediately. But it doesn't do that, so you have to go in there and backdate if you want a true picture, or your first progress report is going to have the first score, and that's the idea of, because if no one puts it in there, then it doesn't look like anything's been done. I hope that explains the situation. I'm guessing that this isn't, I don't know if this is worth anything. I think we use progress monitoring because it aligns more or less with RTI, makes a clear picture of the student's progress, the goals right there, and we don't do the progress reports because we click progress monitoring on that, and that's how we feel it should be done. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe this, I know this is 8 minutes. Sorry. Thank you for your time.